Hello, welcome to William the Bastard Speaks. This is William the Bastard here, saying hi to everybody. Last time we got together, we discussed a little thing known as the ISM'S. We're going to elaborate a little further on the ISM'S and the pros and cons of the ISM'S, what exactly they are. Evolutionism. Evolutionism, we were microbacteria. We evolved. We became more and more advanced and more developed life forms until some people would like to believe and say there is some evidence to support it that we became as we are today. Other people would dispute that. However, I do believe evolution is very evident in nature, and I don't see why it wouldn't be applicable to the human species as well. The next ism, of course, comes from the survival instinct that we are instilled with. It's been with us from a very early date in man's development, and that is it spawned from survival. And survival and vanity and the ego developed this next ism, and it is called individualism. Now, when I say ego, I don't necessarily mean that in a derogatory sense of the word. It's important that we all have some sense of self, and especially for self-respect. That way we are more capable of respecting others. Individualism has been under attack from a very early date in recorded history and beyond recorded history. The only social structure that man has lived under that has supported individualism to any avail, any governmental system, that has been a tribalism. Tribalism, no doubt, absolutely no doubt, was one of the only, if the only form of social lifestyle that supported the individualization of the self and being able to express oneself while still staying within sort of a subtextual format of their native people or their native tribe. As governments became more complex and developed, we begin to branch out into some different ideas. There was, of course, always a ruling class, sort of a hierarchy or caste system like they have in India. And this ruling class wanted to ensure that their power was secured throughout generations, not only for themselves and their children, but their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and long beyond. This type of caste system still survives today in some forms, even here in the United States. The caste system, it's becoming more defined as of late. The idea of the United States caste system, so to speak, is basically wipe out the middle class, disable everyone that is poor, keep average American children out of college, and the ones that are eligible, let them be moldable to our standards and conform to what we want to do. Now, as you know, in the 60s, college students begin something that the forefathers of this country did, and that was to educate themselves. And when we educate ourselves, it broadens our mind. When we read books for ourselves or have our own interested pursuits, it far outweighs any education that can be imposed upon us, or the cataloging of information and or dates and events in the cases of history and social studies. Individualism and tribalism are the enemies of imperialism. Now, imperialism comes about a certain time. Some say that imperialism may have started as early as Sumeria. I'm not so sure they were imperialist. I could see kind of a combination of many different things in Sumerian culture, but when we really get down to the nitty-gritty, I guess the first to do it were perhaps the Greeks. However, being less united and more individualized and far more creative than the later coming Roman Empire. in the Roman Empire, and some say even before them in Egypt. That's debatable, I guess. But the Roman Empire was just total capitalist growth. They wanted to expand their borders. They marched against European nations, conquered so-called barbaric peoples, including Scythians, Germanic peoples, Balts, Celts. The list goes on. And what they did was subjugate these peoples and draw them into Rome, and much like we do today, where we become dependent on things that are sold to us, which we really don't need, have done just well getting by without. Once these things are pushed on us and ingrained into our everyday lives, it is almost as if they're, pretty much a necessity, just like the internet that you're enjoying right now. Imperialism, some say, died with the British Empire. I totally freaking disagree. I think the Russians were, by any definition, definitely an empire. I believe that Nazi Germany in the 20s, 30s, 40s was definitely a progressing empire. And if you look at the very terminology of the United States, if we observe what the true definition, the old definition of state means, we are an empire. And just to show our imperialist tactics and how similar they were to the Romans, you name anything from starvation to rape to the spread of disease, we practiced this and committed a terrible genocide, horrendous war crimes against the native populations in 550 plus nations that were here in the continental United States and beyond. These crimes have never really been justifiably addressed or looked at by a humanitarian government in the modern day. It is no different, absolutely no different whatsoever, than the war crimes we see going on about us committed by so-called terrorist regimes and rogue governments and dictatorships. What we did to these people, I would say, was far more successful than the persecutions, the terrible persecutions endured by Semitic peoples in Europe during the Nazi spread. What we did to the Indians was much more complete. I feel they were totally deculturalized to the point that many friends of mine that are Native American or have a fair amount of Native American descent, I feel they were totally distanced from their culture and really don't have much interest in it at this point. Many of my friends do. Now, I can't say that about all of my Native American friends. Some of them are highly spiritual, highly intellectual, highly research applied, and but by and large, many are excellent businessmen. Many are excellent manufacturers. Some of them rival the work ethic of other races in our country. There's no doubt about that. I've seen an Indian outwork a white man all day long, and they're great people. But let's get to the point of this, because I'm just sitting here blabbering out in the fuck. I'll probably have a 12-minute video today. Imperialism led to regimes like the Nazi rise and totalitarianism and fascism. And we've seen exactly what that did for everyone. We've seen that this terrible, oppressive government totally controlled and manipulated and propagated their citizens to do certain things. Mind control was first studied in Nazi Germany. Mass mind control of the public. That's where all the CIA and underground government agencies of the 1950s and 60s got a lot of their idealism from Nazi tactics. I don't see that a lot has changed. I think once the Nixon administration finally took over, and even during the term of LBJ, terrible thing, terrible takeover was going on in our entire government by corporations. lobbying sponsorship of political candidates, and henceforth the assassination of people that were trying to stop the involvement of banks, of privatized banks in the government, like John F. Kennedy was my idea of the way perhaps the last president of the United States, the last true president of the United States, and his brother Robert Kennedy, when he attempted to get elected, was assassinated in the same manner. All of these are very CIA tactics, call it what you will. Even if Oswald did fire a bullet that could fucking do cartwheels and fucking smoke a crack pipe, chew bubble gum, and fuck your wife at the same time, he was CIA trained. It's that simple. Big business has infiltrated our government and has controlled the commercialization of everything we enjoy. Money takes precedence over everything, and it is destroying our human race. Capitalism, yes, not communism. Communism, many forms of it have been defeated, and outside of that, there's never been a true form of communism, because if there had been, you wouldn't have the oppressive things that happen in these so-called communist countries, such as Red China, the USSR. If you really look at the definition of communism, it's a community effort, which is something we are very good at doing here in the United States, coming together like for Thanksgiving and stuff. But we're not going to get into that. I'm not advocating communism by any way of means, because the current definition of communism far supersedes anything which I'm mentioning now. And I dislike capitalism and communism. I would like to return to individualism and tribalism. I'm very supportive of that idea. I believe that as we evolve as a human species, we really don't need to be told what to do every day by some authority and power, and we can govern ourselves. That was the whole idea that this country was founded upon in the first place. And somewhere along the line, with the continuation of the electoral college, that's the same as having a law that you cannot gather sticks on the Sabbath day. To me, it's absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to get back with a part 2 of this, because I'm being interrupted now. But hey, there's my 12 minutes, 50 seconds. Love my family, love my friends, love all my people. Hey, you guys have a good day. We'll talk more, man.